So welcome back everybody, this is Paul again, and today I'm going to continue more in my series about esoteric teachings as applied to different kinds of beings, and I've discussed some of the myths and various concepts that people have, and over the history of thousands and thousands of years we've been told a whole lot of really incredible stories about the various kinds of beings that exist in the realm of our perception. So one of the subjects that I brought up in a previous video about avatars, it's an old concept, and in the modern world it's not very well understood, and I keep saying that in order to understand other kinds of beings that may exist in various kinds of manifestations that we may not perceive accurately or whatever, but there's a continuing process of conscious evolution and consciousness expression. And I said in one of the previous videos that let's suppose that human awareness went on and on for millions and millions and millions of years. What if it went on for like 500 million more years? See, that's something incomprehensible to us. We don't really understand. We barely even understand our own little existence. To try to understand, well, what will happen in 500 million years. But if we go to the ancient stories, and this subject is very, very old, and there's been a history that's been handed down to the human race that goes back very, very, very long time ago, long before the present borders on the planet were divided up into countries and so on. And that history got really, really old and developed into various kinds of mythology, because basically a lot of these so-called cosmic beings or incarnations were pictured as some kind of an animal, or maybe a combination of human animal, and ultimately the whole zodiac and the various there's stories that relate to the cosmos in terms of when the history was. Like, for example, we went through the so-called Piscean age, and now we're in the so-called Aquarian age. This is all astronomical cycles, and as the history goes on and on, the way it's come down to us has been portrayed astronomically as far as the timing, and then there's various kinds of imagery associated, which people call the gods and the deities and so on. Now, we have to understand who really we are, because I heard it said that one sage in the early part of last century said that there are some kinds of beings that can get rid of all the evil in the world, but they destroy the evildoers. And then there's some kinds of beings who can get rid of the evil without getting rid of the evildoers. So there's some kind of a purifying thing that can happen on a cosmic scale. And he also said that there are celestial beings who yearn and pine for the human frame. So what is never so rarely taught in our culture is that this body, this ordinary body that we have, that we go shopping with, is the body of the gods. It has all the high features, it is a microcosm of some solar system, you might say. And the ancient teachers and the people who had nothing better to do except to learn their own body and mind and soul through meditation, those sages thousands of years ago said, look, it's very possible to awaken more awareness within a human being, any human being, through various techniques. It's not a religion in the sense of just belief, but there's practical ways that human beings can augment and enhance and maximize the full use of their own vehicle. Just like, for example, if you had an aircraft, a very sophisticated aircraft, and you didn't know how to fly, you could sit in it, you could make a house out of it, you could have a party in it, and all kinds of things, but you may not even ever fly it, let alone know all the features. So the sages say, first of all, know who you are, and know that in this physical body, all the great teachers have come, all the great geniuses have come in this very kind of body, and various bodies as the climate changes and various things happen on the planet. There's different kinds of interbreeding and various kinds of shapes of this body, but basically the concept of of a beingness, awareness can inhabit, has the perceptions, certain kinds of perceptions in various levels of seeing, just like there's different kinds of animals that see, they all see, they have different kinds of eyes, they see different parts of the spectrum. The same way that over the thousands and thousands of years, the various kinds of vehicles available for the consciousness, one common pattern is to have two arms and two legs and a head. And there's various kinds of things we have to take in, usually some kind of food or supplement or something. And there's some, but I imagine there's thousands of places in the cosmos that there's a very different kind of life that evolved there. And we already know that there's weird life just on this planet. So again, getting back to the whole subject of avatars, is that we can't understand a great soul or an incarnation, or why would people like touch the feet of their guru, for example? Why does that happen? Well, the thing is that our body, it's just like, let's say you hug a dog. I mean, why do people hug a dog? Because the dog is radiating this beautiful energy, and they hold the dog, and sometimes people get their face right into the dog, and the dog is licking all over their face because they're exchanging a kind of beautiful energy and loving kindness and warmth that when you bow to somebody, you recognize, hey, I feel the level of our breath, I recognize the divinity in you, because in that space we're all heading toward this oneness. We're not trying to get on top of the heap here. You see, that's not how real consciousness awareness works. We're trying to get more ethereal and more experience and more wide and vast. So the techniques that have been available for meditation have been around for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And there's a saying, like there's certain books like the Patanjali or places in the Upanishads where they say, if you just take this one, if you understand this one little sentence right here, you can be liberated. You can understand, open the doors of our awareness within, because there's a certain limit to what our physical senses can do. We all know that. We all have different levels of the physical senses, but the various principles of seeing, the principles of hearing, and all that, it's like if you follow all those senses back into a place within yourself, they all meet like in our brain or in some kind of our whole being, and that means all the water in our being and electricity in our being and all that stuff is very, very vast, because a lot of times our own self-image of ourselves is just puny. It's just nothing compared to what, and we don't have to achieve any kind of being, because ultimately the infinity of beingness is present within us, and when we sit in that presence, we have no conflict, we don't feel any, there's no threat there, there's no comparison there, there's no guilt there, there's no, just union, just oneness, you see. So ultimately, getting back to if consciousness evolves over thousands and millions of years, you can say, okay, we're just here on this planet. We don't know what came before. We have a tiny amount of time to figure anything out here. Try to benefit from the ancient teachings a little bit and go inside and relax and try to get a feel for the cosmic, the oneness of our own being, because in that place inside we'll start to tap into what already exists, is a underlying, non-local, non-divisible presence, awareness that is our own being. Now, the whole purpose of this creation, if you go by the cosmic, if you meditate and you start to feel the oneness, and that's why the bliss comes, that's why people say, I feel incredible bliss, because they feel, so much clarity, it all makes sense here. And I'm just a part of it, and I'm a beautiful part of it. We all are, we have this incredible celebratory role to play in our own existence, but we don't realize how beautiful each of us is. So in order to understand what other beings are, and great souls and Mahatmas and yogis and all that, and one has to understand one's own nature, you see, because ultimately the more conscious a being gets, there's nothing more to do except there's service. There's a service to in order to expand our own beingness, service to others, and giving back and radiating and becoming integrated into that cosmos in our body, so that our whole being radiates and glows with this integrated, harmonious energy that is the essence of this whole cosmos. And so we ourselves are gods and goddesses, you might say. Doesn't it? I think that Jesus said, don't you know you're gods? You don't know what this body is? And so I encourage people to read on this subject and go and listen to some of the great teachers. I'll go through a few book recommendations here. This was a very interesting book called The Symbiotic Universe. How everything is just integrated. It's all about the oneness. We're just kind of a little part of it here. Esoteric Astrology by Alice Bailey. Initiation, Human and Solar. Basically, the whole concept of avatars is just basically a recycling. For example, let's say, a yogi might say, after centuries or maybe hundreds of lifetimes or whatever, they realize that they can, if you do some particular practices, it's not really, most people, the way we live, we're not going to be very successful at really disciplined and integrating our body, because it means a change of a diet and so on. But these yogis could make their own physical body such a vibration so that it could be a physical channel for very high. It's basically it's physics. It's a kind of electricity. They call it the Kundalini or the Shakti or whatever. There's various names for just a tremendous amount of energy when resonance happens within the body, because we have a mental aspect of ourselves, we have an emotional aspect of ourselves, and we have electricity and heat and all that, the various elements. And when we practice, basically, meditation is basically doing nothing, just letting everything come to rest, because there's just an incredible physics and cosmic activity going on just so we can sit here and breathe, right? I mean, we have to be oxygen, there has to be everything. The stars have to be here, sort of. I mean, it's just trying to understand who we are and what this body is, and then what this life is, and then we can understand, okay, avatars, the universe, you might say, whatever you call it, people have a concept, but you have to say it's merciful, it's beautiful, you look out, like it's incredible. But the cosmos is incredible. So we say, look, I don't know much about it. It's infinite, it's vast. I don't not understand it in a short time. But I want to feel joy and I want to feel bliss and I want to get a little clue. So the system that we are in, this cosmic system, we're just here for a little while, happens to be designed around oneness and joy and unfoldment of consciousness and expansion and so on, so that that's the play. The whole play is all about getting more blissful. Basically, that's the whole thing. So if we're not doing that, if we're not getting in the flow with getting more blissful, we're not going with the groove there, So again, I laugh about this because, there's an old saying, there's a fish in water and he's thirsty. Our own existence, no matter who we think we are, or how poor or rich or whatever, uneducated or educated we are, each of us has this human body, and we have this place on this earth, and we have some understanding and teachings that come from the past, and we can use actual practical techniques and enhance our own awareness, awaken our pineal gland, get our own energy stream. We're a microcosm of the macrocosm. We are a cell. All cells have certain kinds of commonalities. Consciousness expresses itself. You look in the animal world, there's heads and arms and eyes, there's ears, there's various certain kinds of sense types. There's a category of seeing, a category of sound, a category of taste, but there's many different expressions of that. So again, I want to explore more about the various kinds of avatars. Now, again, my information comes from a lot of my reading and studying. I do practice meditation and have since my early 20s. And I've had some very, very profound, many profound experiences. In fact, I don't know, I have nothing to compare my experience to. It's just my own private experience. But I know one thing, that when we close our senses and we enjoy the restfulness and have our body, we train our body to a certain amount of rhythm and eat good food, then over a period of time, we have deeper and deeper, more profound inner experiences, and that peaceful vibration and that joyful celebratory feeling gets more and more consistent, more and more steady, so that it's sort of like, okay, you know, when you feel really good health, you don't feel there's a problem, okay? There's sort of like, when you feel emotionally and physically all harmonious, then life proceeds along quite smoothly. So, you know, a lot of the joy and bliss that I've experienced in my life through meditation and studies has just carried with me, and I just take it with me, and I feel that I don't know how to compare it to anybody else. But I encourage people to look into some of these ancient books. Here's another one called Rays and Initiations. Now, again, the cosmic a treatise on cosmic fire book by Alice Bailey, I referred to it in a couple of videos. It's just incredibly complex. I mean, if we want to understand this cosmos more, we can get a little glimpse. Again, as above, so below. There's a certain parallel and self-replication that happens, that if you understand the microcosm, you can understand the macrocosm. If you can understand our own personal being, you can understand what's called a heavenly being. So let's say, for example, you know, we put our own consciousness into the cosmos by, for a moment, maybe relating to something higher, just to open ourselves to something vast, and just for a moment say, okay, I'm going to continue to expand, because there's really no place where you get where, okay, I'm done now, I'm full. That's why the universe keeps going on and on, because it actually allows the opportunity for trillions and trillions of beings to express their joy and participate in something incredible, you know. So maybe after millions and millions and millions of years, that the consciousness doesn't, the body of expression of certain kinds of consciousness is a solar system, you know, or a galaxy or something, and that there's similarity of shape and energy transfer, just like a microcosm, macrocosm kind of thing. And we're in this whole process. So again, there's many, many techniques that are taught. I personally know, I've met and listened to on YouTube and videos. I know there's quite a number of great avatar beings on the planet right now. I mean, very, very public ones. Some of the names are well known and people know them. I don't know if I should mention them here, but I've been in the presence of some people who, you know, I mean, consciousness can go, you know, when we look at each other as human beings, we often prejudge, because we can't see out beyond our own concept or of what a person can be. Because, you see, if you look at another human being in a completely humble and just like the way people look at babies, nobody has a conflict with a baby. You know, you look at the face, oh, is that sweet? When you're looking into the innocence of beingness that is our own nature, that is the cosmic. There's an innate joyfulness and simplicity of being that you find in all, even in animals. The young animals, they play and dance and jump around. They're curious and energetic. There's a part of consciousness which is the way consciousness expresses itself. And when we look at each other, we need to have, if I know that I myself, my own being has great depth and great, great potential, and I'm humbled by that, then I also know that in you have an infinite potential, and I can respect another human being simply because that could be, who knows, that could be divine. It's a divine thing. And this is why some of the ancient cultures, the reason they had such peaceful cultures, like you say, the Buddhist culture or the Hindu culture, they just were taught from an early age, look, respect other beings, don't even harm. Even Buddha was like, don't even kill an animal, don't eat it, you know. if you want to talk about being kind, you know. So again, how? What's our role? First of all, we have the possibility for integrating all our being with the cosmos so that we are avataric in expression. We are a ray. We are a constant beam. Each of us can be in that place. It's not even very difficult. You see, we're taught so much to not be in a place. But that way we breathe in and we breathe out. So when we encounter a greater, like if you go under a waterfall, people go into a huge waterfall because, oh man, I'm just like, that feels so good, waterfall. So let's say there's places, there's temples, there's places on the earth and nature where there's, and a being like an avatar can bring in such a depth of spirit, such a radiance, such a anchoring of energy onto the planet so that when we're in that presence, we get immediately transported into the highest place. It's the only way that we're going to understand our own greatness, our own immortality, is for us to have a practical experience of it. So that, let's say, for example, we have a fire, and that's like a tiny little spark or something, and then a huge flame comes by and says, okay, here, now, okay, whoa, now we're on fire, because boom, that's all it takes. And that's why, you know, the universe is all about oneness and collective fulfillment of consciousness. So an avataric expression would be one way that in the cycle of creation, that beautiful energy, that advanced consciousness can take a form. If the circumstances are right, the body's right, and the timing's right, then, you know, some of these great beings have come, some tremendous beings have come, and, you know, their physical presence, just right down to the physical presence, from the head to the toe, there's just incredible energy. So if you ever get a chance to be around such a person, it'll, you know, 5 seconds of that, you'll never forget it. So there's all kinds of opportunities right now on this planet, and I think I'm very convinced and sincerely believe that there's millions and millions of great souls right on this planet right now, and that's one reason that there's other beings coming to visit. Actually, there have been beings here for a long time, but that the reason that there's a cosmic conjunction, you might say. This is like just a natural part. Like there's cycles, and we happen to be living in one. And we happen to be living in one really great. There's so many people on the earth right now because, hey, you know, this is the time, okay? Basically, it's like the infinite consciousness or whatever, the mercy of everything. Is okay, here's the opportunity. The planet is full of people. There's all kinds of technology, and you can learn all kinds of stuff, and you can travel, and you can meet all kinds of people. So, boom, you know, millions and billions of people take birth on this planet. And it wouldn't be surprising to me at all to know if there's other beings coming and trying to participate. Because, again, you know, it's like we don't get more expansion unless we help out others. It's not like ascending a ladder where that's one analogy, is like going up and up. It's sort of like more like a drop of ink. You put it in a clear pool of water, and little by little and little it just fades out into this whole, it becomes like it adds this very tiny, tiny amount of coloring to the vastness. So as a human being, you know, becomes like we have that color drop and we become more conscious so that our awareness starts to get expanded out into the vastness in very subtle ways. And I've talked a lot about perception in many of my other videos, but that's what we have. So whatever we put our attention on, our perception, first we enhance our perception in every way possible through techniques that are taught by many of these great teachers. And then we have a personal experience and personal understanding, and then we start participating very consciously in the oneness, in our own evolution and our own ascension, so that as we expand our joy, the great beings, their joy is, if you want to have joy, a lot of joy, enjoy other people's joy, so that every time you see someone else have a joy, that makes me feel good. We do that subconsciously when we play with kids or something, and we make them have fun. The people we love, we, you know, enjoy time with them and make them feel happy and everything. It's just a common experience of expression. And you know, when beings accumulate a tremendous amount of energy and have it all focused and have it all in resonance, then you know their joy increases as they bring joy to other people, and that's the way it should be. So again, thank you again for listening. I hope people enjoy and share. I do listen to a lot of other people's content, and I'm familiar with a lot of the names and things that are out there. I just put my 2 cents out there, take it in, see if it relates to anything. In the next video, I'll have a different portion, different kind of description and keywords about avatars. And again, explore the nature of our own existence first. Because when we realize that we ourselves have vastness within us, then we can start to understand how we can participate consciously and radiate with joy in our own personal lives and come to some understanding and have some of our questions answered that we have about all the cosmos, because there's, again, the ancient teachings are a great source. So again, thanks for listening, and hope to see you in the next video.